Healthy Jorge has Edgar power. Bryce Miller versus the jack of one trade Kochanowicz was a weird pitching matchup. And the young pitchers took big spots as Dan Wilson built confidence in our back end relievers to take the first game of the series against the Angels Tuesday night. Welcome to the Dom Skiing Channel, your one-stop shop for the Mariners storylines on Seattle's minds. The Mariners won 5-3 over the Angels, guaranteeing themselves a series split and looking to win 7 straight series today. It's funny, I also learned yesterday that we have lost the first game of each of the last 5 series and then won the next 2 to take each of those series. This being our first 2-game series in a while, maybe our first 2-game series of the season. This is our first 2-game series of the season. Anyhow, we took the first game, now can take the next game tonight, and as we're actually about to start here pretty soon. But I want to talk about some of the pitching matchups and relieving, because that was the funky part of this game. That's most of what you saw. But 3 swings from Jorge Polanco changed everything, and Jorge Polanco is one of the biggest stories in the MLB now. He is tied for second in the MLB in homers, despite being a platoon bat, only hitting from the left side against right-handers. For reference, about 70% of MLB pitching is right-handers, 30% is left-handers. So he doesn't hit against left-handers 30% of the time. For example, today, he's not in the lineup because we're facing a left-hander. But, anytime we face right-handers, he can swing from that left side. Other things that I've heard around the ballpark about Jorge Polanco, I've heard from one person, I don't know how he knows this, but he said, I've heard that Jorge Polanco is the oldest 31-year-old you will ever meet, which does explain a lot because the knee injury that was bugging him from 2022 onward, he hasn't had a good season really since 2020 and 2019. Those were his career years. He was all-star starter, an elite hitter for the Twins for a year, I would argue, but really as a contact hitter, not with an insane power stroke. And then I think he did have that 33 home run year. However, he's always made his buck with a nice level swing, slowing his bat speed down in the middle of the zone, which is why I'm super encouraged, because you can go back and look at my opening day predictions video. One of my main season predictions is that if Jorge Polanco gets back to his level swing, slows the bat down in the zone to get contact, he will have much more success. It seemed like that was the main thing that was wrong with him last year, was that swing was, definitely broken, mechanically. His athleticism seemed to be kind of being taken away. Didn't look athletic at all. He didn't look healthy, and he wasn't. Now, he's just DHing, not playing the field, and just playing that side of the platoon. He's the left-handed hitting side of the platoon. So when we face the right-handers, we put him in, and if it's not broken, don't fix it. Might as well not play him against lefties. If Dan and Edgar think that's the right call, and remember, Edgar Martinez was a third baseman. He was trying to figure out a defensive position, never really could figure it out quite. But once he stopped trying to play the field, he became a DH only. He found so much success as a contact first, gap power guy. And if that's not exactly what we're seeing from Jorge Polanco right now, I don't know what is. This is what's so exciting to me, is that if there weren't any explanation for this, but first of all, the fact that he's had this injury since at least 2022, maybe 2021 as well, which explains pretty much all of his bad years since then, and it's surgically been fixed this offseason. Second of all, it's that it seems like Edgar just knows exactly what to do with him. And third, it's that if you are watching Jorge at the plate, as I was lucky enough to be there, right down the first base line, seeing all this unfold, he looks so much more measured. It's night and day just watching him. And he even should have had a third homer that Joe Adell robbed that I think was over the wall. It was just over the wall. So Jorge Polanco, you can't overstate. It's impossible to overstate how good he's been. Obviously hitting 389. His stats look like prime George Brett. To me, at the plate, he looks like he has a lot of those tenets of what Edgar did well. Gap power. It's not because he's really hacking. It's not a power swing, but sometimes you hit the ball so well. I mean, the barrel rate in the 95th percentile and hard hit rate in the 95th percentile. And I think that is indicative of just hitting the ball in the exact right spot. Sweet spot percentage, 99th percentile. Average exit velocities, 86th percentile. I mean, obviously the top 14% when I say that. I'm just reading off Baseball Savant, as most people would. But then xWOBA, expected batting average, and expected slugging, he's the 100th percentile. He is the top one in the league in all of those stats. He also has some of the best batting average, slugging, just production wise. So then squared up percentage is 95. So he's turning on these pitches incredibly well. And if you are watching, you see a level of control with his swing that, again, hard to overstate. Mechanically, it's beautiful right now. And you got to give so much credit to Edgar Martinez, because he's somebody who did this, literally switched from playing in the field, became a DH only, and became a Hall of Fame hitter. Now the award's named after him. Strikeout percentile, Polanco is in the top 7th percentile of not striking out. The only bad things about Polanco, low walk rate, because he's putting too many balls in play. He's literally hitting the ball too much to have a good walk rate. The whiff percentile, 63. So he's in the top 2/3 basically of not whiffing, and then he's in 36% chase. So he's in kind of the top I guess he's in the top 2/3 of not chasing, but he's in the top 1/3 basically of not whiffing. And the difference between chasing and whiffing, chasing, is obviously, are you chasing pitches outside of the zone? So that that has to do with whether it's in the zone or not. Whiffing is just, did you swing and miss? And then the bat speed. This is what I love to see, is that the bat speed is down at 44th percentile. This to me is the story of Jorge Polanco thus far as a hitter. The bat speed at 44th percentile. Everything else is in the 90s. If he can just continue to keep his bat slowed down through the zone, which I don't see any reason why he wouldn't be able to. He's going to keep squaring it up at an insanely high rate, barreling it up at an insanely high rate, hard hits at an insanely high rate, sweet spot at an insanely high rate, which it results in, the average exit velocities are good, 86th percentile. Again, that's good, but then the expected WOBA, batting, and slugging, which for years, Jorge Polanco is one of my favorite contact hitters I've ever seen in person. Just from a one game in Minnesota. I watched him play against the Yankees in 2019. And it was just evident to me right away that year. And in that game, the way that he can approach the plate and he can slow his bat down in the zone to square things up, barrel it up, it's natural power. It's Edgar Martinez doubles alley power. Now, I'm not saying Jorge Polanco is going to be a Hall of Famer. I am not the high man on Jorge Polanco, but I think there's an explanation for it. And even though he's only a platoon bat, we know what we're getting when we face right-handers. So it's excellent to see. He's always going to be, now he doesn't have to work on the fielding. Base running, he's not as fast. He's been injured, knee injury and stuff, getting surgery. Down at the 16th percentile of sprint speed, all good. Doesn't matter. Jorge Polanco is one of the top stories in the MLB. There's just simply no other way to put it right now. He's one of the best hitters in the game, despite being a platoon bat. And, having heard that he's the oldest 31-year-old out there, I think that, that plays into a role as to why he can't swing physically from the right side right now. He can only swing from the left side. The right side really still bugs him. But credit to our managerial staff. From seeing videos of Bobby Magallanes on Instagram talking about discipline over passion, discipline. And he makes me want to run through a brick wall. He makes me want to raise my batting average, my on-base percentage. And obviously I'm not even playing, but he is a motivator, and the answers he gives on how to be personal. And, the first thing I want to know about these guys is relationships. Again, we talked about this with the Red Sox documentary. Big on relationships with these guys. and even learning about like what they eat, what they do in their free time, because then you can make one of the most underrated things as a coach is the ability to make analogies and make that your players can understand. There's always very often an age gap between players and coaches, and even if there's not there's this then there is an authority gap where it's harder to gain their respect if there's not that age gap. I've been in this scenario, having gone back to coach high school football as like a 24-year-old, and basically you accept that you just have to build your relationship with these guys. You've got to earn the team's respect just as much as they've got to earn yours. But once you do that, then you can become a player's coach, even if you were a first-time coach like I was. You might not have to be the guy, the head coach or the general manager, of the team, or the the main manager in baseball, right? But if you can build relationships with those players, credit to Kevin Seitzer, credit to Bobby Magallanes, credit to Edgar Martinez, because clearly this is working. And that's all I've got to say on the hitting front. Well, except for that, because nobody else produced any runs on the Mariners other than Jorge Polanco. He had all 5 RBIs, all on long balls from him, a 2 and a 3-run shot. And moving on to the pitching, just to kind of cover what's going on with Bryce Miller, I went to the game with my boy Jack, and I'm like, how many pitches is he going to throw tonight, Bryce Miller? He threw 8 different pitches his last start. That's becoming kind of a habit of his that I think is really becoming kind of a watered down arsenal where, ironically, you're a jack of all trades, but a master of none. And it's funny because he's facing the pitcher who's literally nicknamed, shout out to and credit to Nick Pollock, pitcher list, for the nickname Jack of One Trade, Jack Kochanowicz. I completely understand why with this one. And to cover, this was a weird pitching matchup between these two, for the reason being that Miller goes out, gets 10 whiffs on 83 pitches, but is out of there by the 5th inning. By the 6th inning. Gets through 5, and he strikes out 6 and walks 5 guys. Only gives up 2 hits through 5 innings, no damage, unscathed, but striking out 6, in 5 innings would be good. Walking 5. And there is an uneasy feeling that I get when I watch Bryce Miller pitch these days, where the best way to describe it is, when you go to the ballpark and there's an ace, like a Zach Wheeler, Garrett Cole on the mound, a guy like everybody's attention on the ballpark is on that guy. There's not quite as much going on around him. Bryce Miller feels like a slow pitcher sometimes and a fast pitcher sometimes, and a little bit of a sporadic guy. I think that plays into his command. I just think his overall demeanor, composure, hasn't, it doesn't look like it's the same as Logan's. When Logan's out there on the mound, he's commanding everything. He's controlling that ball game. There's just not quite as much control over what feels like the entire baseball diamond. And I apologize for being a little bit hyperbolic there, but it's true that Logan is having so much success with fly balls, ground balls, quality of contact this year. And there's just an easiness and, feeling of control with him. Whereas Miller, even though he can land his pitches pretty well, I think he sets them up outside the strike zone, trying to get guys to chase, doesn't get those whiffs, and then ends up with 5 walks and 6 strikeouts. I'd rather see him go 100 pitches, obviously, get the 6 innings. But it's hard to argue when he's basically unhittable, 2 hits. Now, in this one, he threw 6 instead of 8 pitches. And the ones that look really interesting, it's almost like I don't even remember exactly all the ones he had last start. I think there was a cutter in there that didn't come back this time. So the 4-seam he threw 40 times. Splitter 16 times, sinker 12 times, slider 8 times, sweeper 5 times, knuckle curve 2 times. Now, the knuckle curve he threw twice and it got 2 whiffs. So I'm really curious to see, maybe he's just kind of phasing that in. We haven't seen a ton of that from him recently, especially. But I would like to see more of it, obviously, since 2 for 2. And then the slider, he got 2 whiffs as well on 8 pitches. So that curve and that slider, I remember when he came into the league, were kind of the main ones for him, along with that 4-seamer. Now he's added a splitter that got 3 whiffs on 16 pitches, but 2 of those were 2-strike knockout pitches. And one of them was absolutely filthy. Another one to Trout was real good as well, placed well. The sinker didn't get any whiffs, but he threw 12 of them. And it had 100.5 mile an hour exit velocity on the one time that it did get hit. So I'm not sure if I'm in on that sinker yet. It didn't really induce weak contact last night, and it didn't really get whiffs either. And it also didn't really land in the zone much. It didn't even get a called strike on it. So there wasn't a single strike on, other than that one that was hit into the outfield, and caught. There wasn't a single strike that he threw, a called strike or a whiff, on the sinker. The splitter, you get 3 on 16, and then the fastball, you get 3 whiffs on 40. Again, there's not a ton of swing and miss in this arsenal, and I say, a 10 out of 83 is not terrible. Like, that's a pretty good swing and strike rate. 11%, that's sustainable. But with him throwing all these different pitches, I think there's, we could see him really settle in. I could even imagine this pitch mix working. Just getting rid of, 2 ones. I know there was, I think, a cutter and a changeup, but clearly those weren't a big part of his arsenal because he had most of it. It's that he wanted to play the strikeout game last night, where you had a bad lineup who was going to hit into contact anyway. And that was kind of his downfall, not getting the quality start, having to come out beginning of the 6th inning as we get Colin Snyder in there. However, Jack Kochanowicz, the jack of one trade, ended up, so he starts out just pumping 4-seam fastballs, just pumping tons and tons of 4-seam fastballs and sinkers. He gets through like 44 pitches, only getting 2 whiffs. And it's clear, at that point, okay, this guy's going for quality of contact with a sinker and a fastball and just wants you to barely miss on each of them, thinking that it's the other, especially because they both have basically the same velocity. The sinker's even a little bit faster than the fastball. So it's really just a different pitch mix than you'll ever see. However, it's not sustainable and should lead to a lot of loud contact. As we put up a 90.9 mile an hour average exit velocity on him, 92.1 each on those two, the 2-seam and the 4-seam. And then that sweeper, he threw 13 times. Really, once he had a few clean innings though, and he was in the 4th or 5th, he was starting to have some good innings, like 1, 2, 3 innings, weak contact, and then he ends up managing to go 91 pitches, gets that quality start still. And really, this is the classic blueprint against the Mariners, is that you have a guy who can keep him off balance just enough to where they're going to hit into contact. And, Spencer Turnbull did it and got that no-hitter that got Jared DeHart fired. Shout out to you if you remember that. I was there for that. It was miserable. Anyway, that's kind of what happened there. And then once Jack Kochanowicz got comfortable, he ended up throwing more sweepers, changeups, sliders, thinking that he could get away with some of that stuff, which you don't really like to see. And we didn't really chase him out of the game. He kind of just came out on pitch count. So although we, got off to a really good start against him, that big 2nd inning, thanks to Jorge, Kochanowicz, other than that, did some things that it's almost like he is not somebody I'm excited about to pick up in fantasy baseball or anything. But if he had a 2-start week and he had some good matchups, I'd probably be in on him. He's young enough. He's really long and lanky, and I don't know. He seems to, like a matchup play, a 2-start guy, who could go kind of deep into games doing that. Anyway, the last thing I want to talk about is you know when you get into a really close game like this, not really close, say right, we're up 3-1 when Bryce Miller comes out. Or sorry, we're up 3-0. You break Colin Snyder in, really good just holdover guy. I think that's one of my favorite kind of bridge guys that we have as Snyder. Another one I like though is Carlos Vargas, and despite giving up a homer on second pitch he threw yesterday, he had a quick inning. Other than that, still only needed to throw 10 pitches to get that inning done, with a strikeout, no walks. Gives up a little bit of loud contact, Vargas, but the reason I like putting him in, same thing with Legumina here, is because Dan Wilson knows what it's like to be a player. He knows what it's like to struggle and to do well, to be an all-star and to not. And when you put a guy like Vargas in a pretty close game, right, 3-0, and he gives up that one run, like that's gonna piss him off. You could see just how pissed, like he takes that personally, especially with Dylan Moore being out of the lineup now. Really got to take things personally sometimes. We need guys who are going to be intense, and Carlos Vargas is extremely intense, and really shows a lot of grit and resilience to me that I really like having in that bullpen, because he knows that if the inning is really that bad, if he just loses it, right, and says, oh, whatever, just kind of lapses, then that could be the end of his major league career. So I like having guys, that come from nothing in the minor leagues, that have to really always set that bar high, and that way the guys like Trent Thornton can't mess around for too long and not have their fastball. Otherwise, they're going to have to go down and figure it out before they come back up. I think the bullpen is being I think that gives a lot more resilience to the bullpen and makes me more confident in its dependability going forward. Munoz absolutely shut this game down with a strikeout on 12 pitches. He is so unhittable right now. I'm willing to call him the best closer in baseball, especially after Devin Williams and Clase, the other two who I would put in that discussion, have both been removed as their team's closer as of right now. Andres Munoz is the best closer in baseball, has not allowed a run this whole year, and that is, I'd say it's not even bold right now to say Andres Munoz will be an all-star this year. So that's, I want to ask you guys, do you think Jorge Polanco or Andres Munoz is more likely to be an all-star this year? That's going to be the comment question of the day. Today, we just started this game, and we're already down. Emerson already gave up, gave up a few singles in that first inning, 3 singles. So they got to run. Their expected batting average is way up there. But yeah, I will talk to you guys later with my recap of the second game of this series, Game 31. This has been the Game 30 recap. I will see you guys later. Go Ems.